Hey beauties! I'm really glad you're tuning in today because I've got a pretty simple but surprisingly eye-opening experiment to share with you. Over the last 7 days, I tried something that's been floating around in the wellness and skincare space for years, using aloe vera gel every day, both on my skin and by drinking a small amount daily. That's right, I didn't just apply it externally like most people do. I went all in. Aloe on the face, aloe in the gut, and I kept it up for an entire week to see what would happen to both my skin and my energy levels. Now, aloe vera is one of those things you've probably heard about a dozen times. People say it's amazing for everything from sunburns to digestion to clearer skin. It's been called nature's miracle plant, and it's been used for centuries in places like India, Egypt, and China for both beauty and medicinal purposes. But with so many over-the-top claims out there, I wanted to see for myself. Does it actually do anything noticeable if you use it daily for a week? I'll be sharing my full day-by-day experience, the changes I saw in my skin, what I felt internally, and a breakdown of what might have actually been happening under the surface, based on real research, not just hype. And spoiler, some of the results surprised me. So if you're curious about whether aloe vera is worth adding to your skincare routine or your daily health habits, or if you've tried it before and weren't sure if it made a difference, stick around, because this experiment might just give you a clearer answer. Let's start with day 1, and I'll walk you through exactly what I did, how I felt, and what I noticed right from the beginning. Day 1, starting fresh. So the first thing I did was get my aloe vera setup ready. I used a clean, store-bought bottle of pure aloe vera gel, the kind with no added alcohol, fragrances, or dyes, and I also picked up a bottle of decolorized aloe vera juice that's specifically made for drinking. If you're trying this yourself, that's important. You want the kind that's safe for internal use and doesn't contain the yellow part of the aloe, called aloin, which can be a laxative and irritate your gut. I kept things really simple with my routine. In the morning, I applied a thin layer of the aloe gel to my face after cleansing. No moisturizer, no serums. I wanted to see what aloe alone could do. The texture was light, kind of watery, and it absorbed pretty quickly. It gave my skin a cool, refreshing feeling. Not tingly, but definitely calming. Then I drank about 2 ounces of the aloe juice on an empty stomach. I'll be honest, it didn't taste great. It's not horrible, but it has this slightly bitter, earthy flavor that took a little getting used to. I chased it with some water just to make it easier. Throughout the day, I tried to pay attention to how my skin felt and whether I noticed any changes in my energy or digestion. To be fair, I didn't expect to feel anything dramatic on the first day, but I will say this. My skin didn't feel tight or dry at all, which is rare for me if I skip moisturizer. By bedtime, my face still felt soft and there was no irritation, redness, or itching, which was a good sign because I do have somewhat sensitive skin. At night, I repeated the same routine, washed my face, applied the gel, and left it on overnight. No breakouts, no reaction. I wouldn't call it a glow or anything, but it definitely felt calm, like a neutral canvas, if that makes sense. And if you've ever dealt with flare-ups or random skin freakouts, you know that calm is actually kind of a win. So overall, day 1 was a smooth start. No miracles, but no issues either. My skin felt hydrated, a little smoother to the touch, and I slept well, which might have been random, or maybe aloe has some relaxing effects I'll need to keep an eye on. Let's see what happens by day 2. Day 2 and 3, the is something happening stage. So going into day 2, I didn't expect any huge shifts, but I was starting to become more aware of the small things. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed was that my skin still felt really soft. Not slippery, not oily, just soft. You know how sometimes your skin feels tight or dull in the morning? that wasn't happening. It felt hydrated, like I'd already put moisturizer on even though I hadn't used anything overnight except the aloe. Another interesting thing, the surface of my skin felt smoother. Like when I ran my fingers across my cheeks and forehead, there was less of that slightly rough, bumpy texture I usually get. It didn't look dramatically different in the mirror yet, but the feeling was different. That might be the aloe's humectant properties kicking in. It's known for helping the skin hold on to water, which could explain the soft, almost cushiony texture. I also continued with the aloe juice, 2 ounces in the morning on an empty stomach. Still didn't love the taste, but it was tolerable. I didn't feel any major energy boost or anything super noticeable after drinking it, but I did feel kind of lighter. I don't know if that makes sense. It wasn't a placebo effect either. My stomach felt less heavy, like digestion was happening a little more efficiently. I hadn't changed anything else in my diet, so it felt worth noting. By day 3, I started noticing something else. My face seemed a little more even. Not dramatically brighter, but like the usual uneven patches of redness around my nose and chin were less obvious. I don't have rosacea or anything extreme, but I do tend to get blotchy sometimes, especially in the morning or after cleansing. That was calming down a bit. It's subtle, but if you're someone who really knows your skin, you catch those little changes. One other thing I want to mention, I hadn't broken out, not even a small pimple. That was actually kind of surprising, because sometimes when I try new products, even something natural, I'll get a random clogged pore or two while my skin adjusts. With the aloe, nothing. My skin seemed calmer, and there was no itching, no tightness, no new bumps. It felt like my skin was just resting, like it was getting a chance to breathe. So overall, after 3 days of using aloe vera gel twice a day and drinking the juice in the morning, my early takeaways were better hydration, slightly smoother texture, and a calmer, more even look. Nothing dramatic yet, but definitely more than I expected by this point. I was curious to see whether these subtle changes would continue or if they'd just level off. So let's move into day 4 and see where this goes. Day 4 and day 5. Things are starting to shift. By day 4, I could confidently say that something was definitely happening. Not in a drastic, dramatic way, but in a slow, steady, wow, okay, this might actually be working kind of way. Let's start with my skin. The hydration effect was still going strong. My skin felt really balanced. Not dry, not oily, just right in the middle. That natural kind of moisture where you don't feel like you need to reach for anything extra. Normally, by mid-morning, my skin would start feeling tight or I'd see shine around my nose and forehead. But by day 4, those issues had calmed down noticeably. It felt like aloe was helping my skin regulate itself a little better, not stripping anything, but also not adding too much. I also noticed that the redness around my nose and cheeks, which tends to flare up randomly, especially after I wash my face, had gone down even more. It wasn't gone, but it was more subdued, like my skin wasn't overreacting as much. That made me wonder if aloe's anti-inflammatory properties were really starting to kick in. And here's something that really caught my attention. I had a small breakout brewing under my chin, one of those little hormonal ones that usually take several days to come and go. But instead of turning into a full-blown, painful spot, it just flattened out. It never really erupted, and within 48 hours, it was basically gone. That was surprising. I've read that aloe can help speed up wound healing and reduce inflammation in acne, and now I was seeing that play out in real time. Internally, things were shifting too. I was still drinking 2 ounces of aloe juice every morning, and while it hadn't magically turned me into a ball of energy, I did feel lighter. My digestion seemed smoother. I wasn't bloated during the day, even after heavier meals. I didn't feel sluggish in the afternoons the way I sometimes do. You know, that foggy crash that hits around 2 or 3 p.m.? that was noticeably milder. I don't know if it was the aloe itself or if my gut was just working a bit more efficiently, but either way, it was a nice bonus. By day 5, I was actually looking forward to applying the gel and drinking the juice. It had become this little ritual that felt grounding and soothing. And the fact that my skin still wasn't reacting negatively, no breakouts, no irritation, made me want to keep going. My face looked more rested, more even-toned, and just healthier. So, at the halfway point in this experiment, I was definitely seeing results. Not a total skin transformation, but a real improvement in tone, texture, and overall balance. My energy wasn't through the roof, but I felt clear-headed and comfortable in my body, which, let's be honest, is something we don't always get to say during a typical week. Next up, day 6. And this is where I started paying close attention to the healing side of things, especially when it came to acne and texture. Let's talk about that. Day 6, the healing test. By day 6, I was really starting to zero in on one specific question. Could aloe actually help my skin heal? Not just stay calm and hydrated, but actively speed up recovery from the usual stuff like breakouts, irritation, and texture issues. I'd already seen that little hormonal pimple on my chin disappear faster than usual, but now I was watching more closely. I had a couple of leftover marks, not deep acne scars, but those reddish spots that linger after a breakout. Normally, those take at least a week or two to fade on my skin, but by day 6, I swear, one of them had already lightened significantly. It was still there, but not as dark and definitely not as textured. That made me dig a little deeper into what aloe actually does when it comes to wound healing. Turns out, it contains compounds like glucomannan and gibberellins, which have been shown to stimulate the production of collagen, the stuff your skin needs to repair itself. That could explain why those post-breakout spots were fading faster than usual. My skin seemed like it was turning over a bit more efficiently, like it had what it needed to heal without the usual irritation or dryness that comes with other treatments. Something else that stood out. There was this little patch of dry, flaky skin near the edge of my jaw that I hadn't even really noticed before starting this. It's one of those areas that sometimes gets missed when I apply moisturizer, and it just sits there being rough. But now, that patch was completely gone. The aloe had softened it without me even realizing it was happening. Internally, I was still feeling really stable. No stomach cramps, no weird side effects from drinking the juice. In fact, I realized I hadn't had any digestive discomfort at all that week, which is rare for me because I usually deal with mild bloating or sluggish digestion, especially if I've had a heavier meal the night before. Aloe was known to contain enzymes that support breakdown of sugars and fats, and I was starting to wonder if that was part of what was helping me feel more balanced. Also, and I don't want to overstate this, but I felt like I had a bit more mental clarity. Not like a caffeine jolt or anything super noticeable, but more like steady, sustained focus. I didn't feel foggy in the mornings, and even after eating, I didn't have that crash where you just want to take a nap or zone out on your phone. That might not be all from the aloe, but it's worth mentioning. By this point, I was honestly impressed. My skin was clearer, my face looked smoother, and my energy was steady. And the best part, I still hadn't used any other products. No actives, no toners, not even moisturizer. Just aloe, morning and night, and the juice once a day. Day 6 felt like a turning point. Not because there was a huge change in how I looked, but because it felt like my skin and my body were working with me instead of against me. That's a rare feeling. So going into day 7, I was feeling pretty optimistic. I didn't know if I'd wake up glowing or anything, but I was definitely curious to see what the final day would bring and whether the effects I'd noticed were still holding up. Let's get into that next. Day 7. The final day. Waking up on day 7, I took a moment to just look at my skin in natural light. No filters, no flattering angles, just me in the mirror. And honestly, I liked what I saw. My skin wasn't flawless. I still had a couple of faint spots, a bit of texture here and there, and my pores hadn't magically vanished, but there was a real noticeable difference in how my skin looked, and more importantly, how it felt. It felt balanced, smooth, and healthy. Internally, I felt steady. That was the word I kept coming back to. Steady digestion, steady energy, steady mood. No bloating, no weird stomach episodes, no crashes midday. And even though aloe isn't exactly a miracle energy booster, it seemed to help me stay level, which honestly felt better than any short-lived energy spike. Looking back over the full 7 days, here's what I learned and what I'd recommend for anyone thinking about trying this themselves. First, the skin results. Hydration was the biggest win. Within the first 2 or 3 days, my skin felt more supple, less dry, and overall just more comfortable. Redness and inflammation visibly improved, especially by the middle of the week. Aloe really does seem to help calm reactive skin, and for someone with mild sensitivity, that was a huge plus. So, is aloe vera a miracle? No, let's be real. It's not going to erase acne overnight or give you glowing skin in a day. But, and this is a big but, it does work in quiet, effective ways that build up over time. It's gentle, it's affordable, and it seems to support your body rather than forcing it to react. That's the part I like the most. Aloe didn't feel like it was trying to change my skin. It felt like it was helping it get back to balance. If you're looking for something soothing, hydrating, and subtle, whether for skin issues, gut health, or just to simplify your routine, I'd say aloe was definitely worth a try, especially if you give it a full week or more like I did. Just remember to do it safely. Always use pure, clean aloe vera gel, whether it's straight from the plant or store-bought. Make sure it has no added fragrance or alcohol. If you drink it, go for decolorized food-grade juice and start small. I stuck to about 2 ounces a day, and that was more than enough. And of course, if you have any medical conditions or are on medication, check with your doctor first. After 7 days of aloe, I feel better in my skin, literally and figuratively. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't perfect, but it was real, and sometimes that's exactly what we need. Thanks for sticking with me through this little experiment. I hope it gave you a clear, honest look at what aloe vera can actually do when used consistently. If you've tried something similar, or if you're thinking of starting your own 7-day challenge, I'd love to hear how it goes. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to stick around. I've got more real-world skincare and wellness experiments coming soon. Take care of your skin, take care of your body, and I'll see you in the next one.